Hey everyone, today we're going to be adding a Modbus device into OnPing. What you can see here, we have our Modbus device, which is a Novus DigiRail. You see the little lights on it lighting up. And then also we have our lumberjack right next to it. And it's all powered up, connected, and ready to go. We're going to be using a RS-485 to USB converter. It actually just has bare wires on the other side, which you can see hooked into our Novus. That's a lot easier to work with a lot of different devices. All we have to do is take this USB end and plug it into any of the ports on our lumberjack, and now we're ready to go. Once you have your lumberjack connected, make sure you have your Modbus driver installed. First, find your lumberjack in your list of lumberjacks. In our case, it's lumberjack 9, so I'll click 9 here, and I'll pull it up in our search engine. If it doesn't pull up that easily, you can just do 9 is lumberjack, and that'll search only for lumberjacks. And this is making sure it's properly linked. Here we have a summary of it. Let's go on apps here and look at what apps are installed. Looks like we still need to have the Modbus app installed. So we'll go ahead and download that to the device. And we'll let that download. You can see here it's going to download 0 out of 4, 1 out of 4. And now we're finally done. Now that we have Modbus Flexible Server installed, we can go back to our main panel here and add our lumberjack. We'll click back on admin links. If you don't have the admin links panel, contact support or your administrator about getting it. Inside of there, you should see add a Modbus Flexible or add a Modbus driver. Click there and it'll bring you to the comms screen. We always split communications and configuration into 2 different screens in OnPing. Here you'll see that there's a list of existing locations. A few different Modbuses have already been installed, but I'm going to be adding a new one. So first of all, a name. So you just give it a name that makes sense to you. I'm going to call it Demo Novice Modbus. And then you'll give it a URL. This URL is going to be the URL of the lumberjack that you're connecting to. Usually it'll be a 10.something.something address. A lot of our drivers, you're going to start seeing lumberjack serial instead of lumberjack URL. We're updating it to talk serials instead of URLs, so we're going to new technology in order to bring this data in. 5.12, lumberjack port. Usually that's going to stay the same. Notice that these options are going to change when I change the network type to RTU. RTU is the network type to use if what you're bringing in is a serial device. In our case, we are bringing in a serial device. That's from the USB that we're plugging in. And this device path will almost always be the same, /dev/tty USB 0, unless you have multiple serial devices that you're bringing in at the same time. Our baud rate looks great, CS9600, bits per word 8. Stop bits, our particular device actually has stop bits 2. It does have no parity, no flow control, timeout looks fine. Polling frequency, we're going to poll the device every 60 seconds. If it doesn't get a response for 10 seconds, it'll retry 1 time. The slave ID here will be 1. And the controller type, there are different kinds of controllers you can have. Here's an IDAC and a MicroSmart and an autopilot. And we try and configure some of the device for you here. If you're not sure what kind of device you have, a really good default one is SCADApack. In our case, we have a Novus, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on Novus. And then I'm going to pick our company. It's going to be our demo company. I'll put it in the demo Modbus section. And then for group, you want to pick the lowest permission group that you want to have read-only access. So in our case, I'm going to pick Test Corp user. And that means people in the Test Corp user group will have read-only access. They won't be able to make changes. And everyone else will be able to write. Everyone above this group will be able to write to it. Latitude and longitude are GPS coordinates if you have them. I do not. This allows you to use them in our map feature or to get driving directions to this location. Enable on change is what you use in order to make it only save data if a value has changed above a certain amount. I don't need that right now, so I'm just going to leave that as is. Go ahead and hit click add. When I click away and back, my demo Modbus device shows up. Let me make sure it all loads up correctly. It does. I could just click on this Modbus, but I want to show you where this came from. So let me scroll up here, click on OnPing again, get you back to my main view, click Edit Dashboard and delete this Modbus, save it, and exit. All right, and then I'll show you what it looks like to add that Modbus panel here. So click Edit Dashboard and then Add Panel. I'll make a panel called Modbus, give it a little icon. I like cogs. And add the Modbus Flexible widget to it. So I click plus widget and I go down here to the controllers, Modbus Flexible, add. Save this, and exit edit mode. Now I can click on Demo, Modbus, find my device, and hey, look, it's already polling for me. By selecting Novice from our device type, it already knew how to load up a lot of these values, so I didn't have to do as much work as I might have otherwise. But we can kind of look through the different ones that it gave us. It gave us these integers here, gave us some baud rate stuff, Modbus stuff, firmware stuff, scaling parameters, a little series number parameter. But these values are already good to go in OnPing, so I can do a couple of writes here. By clicking this little button here, I'm doing a demand poll, so I'm forcing it to poll more than it normally would. Normally it'd be polling every minute, but I'm forcing it to poll faster. Do this, edit, I'll add a widget here. We'll add a little line graph. Change this to real time and give it just a very short time window so it's easy to tell what's happening. Let's add a parameter and we'll just add it from what we just made. Yeah, it's a great one. And then I'll change it to column and save and get out of edit mode. And then let's see, one more thing. Let's switch the order here. Save, then exit edit dashboard, go back to here. Okay, and then here we have our little edit mode showing the last two values. We can click here and then click refresh, do a demand poll, and we see the new value pop in. Click it again. And you know everything's working. We have just a normal parameter now in OnPing added very easily. If you have any questions or would like to know more about it, feel free to reach out.